Welcome to the Micromath Capital podcast. Today we're sitting down for an interview that I've been excited for a very long time. It's a company based in Victoria, Canada that set out to create the lightest, strongest, and most durable fabric in the entire world, and they nailed it. In fact, pound for pound, this material is 8 times stronger than steel. What started as a wind sport company has evolved into something much bigger than that, with companies like Arc'teryx, Michelin, and Durston exploring different applications for their product. They've got a lot to be excited about as well. If you look at their year-to-date Q2 numbers, revenue is 47% higher, and they added 12 whole percentage points to their gross margins. There's a lot to be excited about, and I finally managed to get the CEO, Sage Berryman, to sit down with me to do a podcast so that we can show you guys what this story is all about. If you don't have this company on your watch list, it's ALUULA Composites. The ticker is AUUA.V. You are going to love this interview. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Yeah, our products are quite different from our competitors in that it's a mono material. So we're not using any glues in our process, which gives us the ability to recycle at the end of its useful life. So we get very high performance, lightweight, very strong materials, and also recyclable at the end of its useful life, which is a big differentiator in the market.
Mm-hmm. I saw a quote. It was the strength comparison to steel. Could you enlighten me on what that was?
Yeah, it's a strength versus weight. So we're using a ultra high molecular weight core, which is known as being 8 to 15 times stronger than steel by its weight. So once you create other layers and create this mono material, you're getting even stronger and even lighter, customized by what the use is. So it again creates a very unique textile for certain uses that is very strong and very light.
I mean, I'll vouch to that. When I was over at your facility in Victoria there, I gave it my all, and to try to make even a dent in that, I wasn't even close. And it feels incredibly light. So it's wildly impressive. What do you use this for? You know, what's like a core market for you guys? Let's perhaps start there.
Yeah, one of the first uses that we saw was in the windsurfing market in kites and wings. Again, it's a very high stress environment where you're getting wind, sun, sand impact, and the material performs very well because of its strength. And then it also took a lot of lightness and extra weight off of the current products that were in the market. So we were seeing much better performance. There were some world records being set and some new tricks being done, which everybody said, oh, this is very interesting. So from that initial market, which was wind sports, we've also moved into the performance outdoor category. So we're seeing some uptake in ultralight backpacks, just moving into ultralight tents. There's a few different product areas, but predominantly it's in the performance outdoor market where high durability and ultra lightweight would be a definite value add.
Mm-hmm. You have a pretty impressive list of brands you're working with that are exploring your products. Can you share many of the brands that you are working with?
Yeah, I think we can share a few that we've talked to publicly. On the commercial and industrial side, we have a research and development agreement in place with Michelin Inflatable Solutions, and we're exploring different potential uses with them there. If things go well, we'll move into commercial agreement discussions with them. We also have a number of partners in the performance outdoor space. Durston is one of our early partners. They have an ultralight backpack and looking at some other products as well. We have a partnership with Arc'teryx. They haven't announced yet what products they are bringing to market, but it should be in the not too distant future that we're able to talk more about that. And then we have another large list of wind sports brands that we work with. Duotone was the first brand to come in outside of our own brand to use it in the wind sports category, and they're using the materials across their line and bringing those to customers as well. So we have a number of different wind sports partners, but some great brands, and we're very fortunate to work with them.
Yeah, those are some incredible brands that are obviously well known and certainly says something that they're working with you guys as well. What is the strategy for the outreach for, how do you get on the radar of such a large company like Arc'teryx?
We've been very fortunate in that most of these companies have really innovative product development groups. So they'll have advanced materials scientists on their core staff. So a lot of the engineers are finding us. We've been very lucky that a lot of the outreach and the agreements that we've come to with customers has been more reactive than proactive. And I think that speaks a lot to the unique aspects of the material that we've developed. So again, we work hand in hand with our brand partners. We are an ingredient brand. So we provide them the textile and then they market it under their own name, of course, but show that it's an ALUULA material that's enabling the unique application. So we're very lucky to have a high quality list of partner brands that we work with. And most of that's driven by their expertise on their engineering teams, that they are looking for something very specific. And when they do that hunt, ALUULA is one of the only options that comes up.
Yeah. And that was a perfect segue into my next question. You were mentioning that you're a material brand. Can we discuss Ocean Rodeo and kind of the strategic refocus of the business to become a material focused brand?
Absolutely. So early on last year, Ocean Rodeo was a separate subsidiary owned by ALUULA. And that was a brand that was selling into the wind sports category. And we owned that company in order to find a way to bring our products to market. So when it was still early and the ALUULA materials weren't tested, it was a great testing ground for those materials. So it gave a chance for the market to see the commercial applications. Over time, though, we started to cannibalize our own business, and we found better revenue return by selling to other customers in the wind sports category versus running a competing business that was Ocean Rodeo. So over time, we made the decision to shutter Ocean Rodeo and look at selling off some of those assets in order to focus just solely on ALUULA's core business. We feel like we can generate a better return for investors in ALUULA's core business versus having the diversification and distraction of running a different sub business as well.
Yeah, that's easy to understand the focus. So I guess you guys were originally you tested it on your own products. You were your own first customer, proved that it works, caught the eyes of everyone else. And then it sounds like the list of people looking to do business with you started getting long enough that you thought, hey, let's focus on selling to everyone else and our core competency. So I think that's something investors would understand and get behind. Well, the strategy seems to be paying off. Everything seems to be on the right track. Your latest financials reported last month, impressive sales growth, very impressive. For me, even more impressive, gross margin improvement. Can we talk through some of your latest performance and what is changing? How are you achieving these numbers?
Yeah, I think for an early stage business, a lot of the times it's solely focused on growth. And we are very aggressively focused on growth. That's a core criteria to what we're doing. But we also want to get to the point where we're self-sustaining. And that comes from having a very tight margin focus. So internally, we put a lot of focus on our gross margin. And we have a target rate over 40% that we aim towards on our gross margin. And then we also focus on our OPEX. And I think having that operational rigor internally means that we're going to get further on each dollar that we put into the business. And that's really a core objective. We're all investors in the business too, and we care about the future. So it's really balancing that aggressive growth target with having a margin focus on the internal operations to ensure that we've got sustainability in our business model.
Well, yeah, I think you're right on track in terms of what investors are looking for. The market of 3-4 years ago was very different. Growth at all costs, margins, what are those? It's how do you get that top line number as high as possible while sacrificing anything and everything you have to do to get there. I think the investor demand for that is certainly not there. They're very focused on financials and the fundamentals of the business. So that always impresses me. And this channel in general, everything we talk about is very fundamental focus. So that's something that massively stands out, especially for a small company. You don't often see that focus on margins with small early stage companies. So very impressive. Caught my eyes. I'll certainly be continuing to watch going forward. Maybe that brings me to my next point. Catalysts, only to the degree of what you can tell us. I'm not fishing for inside information or non-disclosed information here, but what would an investor look for the next 12 months? Are there some catalysts that you have announced that are in the pipeline that we could speak to?
Yeah, we haven't provided forward-looking guidance just because of the age and phase of the business. We're still growing and it's a long sales cycle. So our internal clarity and forecast, we want to get more comfortable that we have more absolute clarity on that before we start providing forecasted guidance. That said, I think there's some very key criteria that we're looking for. At an operational level, continued focus on margins, continued execution, quality of production, ensuring that we're able to get the materials out to our customers in the time frame that they require. That's going to enable us to grow. So the growth is going to be driven by new products coming into markets. We've talked about a couple of them in the performance outdoor space. And then I think growth is also going to be driven by some of those key customer relationships in the commercial and industrial side. So we're doing some really interesting R&D, as I've talked about. Some of it we can't talk about because these are top secret programs that those customers, our customers, are working on. So until a product is in market and earning revenue, unfortunately, our investors won't be able to see what that is. But I think those are going to be some key value drivers for us as we keep moving forward, that we successfully show the results of those R&D programs. They're progressing well, and we're getting some very good data. But until they turn into revenue, they don't matter as much, right? But I think we've got our hands in a number of those different projects, and those will be exciting to see once we're able to bring them through to fruition.
Well, very fair answer. And maybe another way I'll ask you would be, what is the process from a company that you mentioned, their internal R&D department, you guys land on the radar, and they now are in discussions with you about exploring what is, and not asking about any specific company you're working with, but like, what is the process from first call to you saying, hey, we've heard about this product, we want to explore it, going all the way through to a potential like revenue generating agreement? What does that process look like?
Yeah, and it hits on what we talked about earlier, that there is a long sales cycle. So usually the engineering team will reach out and we'll provide them with samples. That'll give them a chance to kind of test the materials and see if it meets their specs. And then they'll do a larger order, not too large. It'll still be like a prototyping sample. And it'll be this continued iterative process with them. So that can take up to a year and a half in some circumstances.
Okay.
If a performance outdoor company is looking at releasing a new product, they're already planning for the 2026 or 2027 products, right? So when we're working with these advanced concepts teams and advanced development teams, they are working on future products. They're not working on products that are in the market this year. So it is a longer sales cycle. There is some iterative development that is done sometimes because we can customize our material based on the customer's needs. As we spoke about, it's a multi-layer monopolymer. So we can adjust those layers based specifically on what the needs are. If it's more UV resistant or more waterproofing, etc., lighter weight, heavier strength, those types of criteria. So we can do that in a evolutionary way with our customers. And that can also take a little bit of time for them to get the product just perfect that they want to be able to launch with.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. If somebody is watching this, they understand the product now, they understand the progress you're making, the mission that you're on. If you were to give them kind of somewhat of a shameless pitch, just to them, you trade on the open market. I'll remind you guys watching again, AUUA.V. What's the core reason somebody should be looking at your stock, and what would cause them to click buy right now, in the words of the CEO?
Oh, that's an easy one because I think it goes to why most of us are here and in this company. So we have a really interesting product. Material science in general is a really interesting space. There's some cool developments that are happening. So we're able to take a product that's performing better than most anything in the market and make it fully recyclable. And that to me is really unique. So you have a super high performance material that creates less waste when you manufacture it, can be repaired in field, can have a longer life cycle, and then can be recycled at the end of life. That's huge. So if we think about ultralight tents, they would degrade after a number of years of use, and normally they just get thrown out. Ours doesn't. Ours has the ability to be fully recycled. So I think that's really the exciting part. And we look at where the market's going and what the markets and the consumers are demanding, the smart consumers. And they want to spend their money on, yes, the high quality ultralight products, but they also care about the environmental aspects. And that's a big one for us. So I think if you are excited about performance outdoor, if you're excited about science and material science, and you also care about the environment, there's not a lot of investments that meet all of those criteria. And then you throw the fact in that we're early stage, not a lot of people have heard about us. So I think a lot of that creates an opportunity that's pretty unique.
Well, I feel confident that we've really covered the company at a high level for somebody wanting to learn more about this and consider investing. I'm intrigued by you. I'm actually a bit curious would you be willing to walk us through a little bit about where you were doing, how you got to this point, and what is your interest? What brought you to becoming the CEO of a composite material company?
Yeah, I guess my background, I've been 15 years in the C-suite. So I've worked with a number of different public companies and private entities as well. But my core driver is that integration between technology and the kind of social good. And how do you find companies that make money, but also make the world a better place at the same time? So that's been my driver. That's how I pick the companies that I work with. And fortunately, I know a number of the board members at ALUULA, and they reached out to me when they were contemplating this new position. And we had long talks over a long period of time. And again, that combination of a really unique material science offering that is receiving calls for the product, right? This is not us pounding down doors trying to get sales. This is us being receiving on those calls. And it's unique and it's good for the environment. So for me, those kind of criteria all came together, and it's in Victoria. That's a great place to be able to live and work. We're pretty lucky to have this opportunity here. And so it was a combination of all those things for me to come over.
Amazing. And I'm quite familiar with your team. I'm from Victoria as well myself. So one of the first things when I flipped through the investor presentation deck was the quality of the team you've built. A lot of very familiar names. Actually, maybe let's talk about that. You want to discuss a few of the board of directors, maybe a few key people and what their background is for somebody who might not be, sometimes a name on an investor presentation is just a name to some people. So maybe let's add a little bit of context. I think that's important.
Yeah, I think Victoria is a unique business community in that we get some very, very talented people that come here, and they're usually quiet and behind the scenes, and you don't hear a lot of them. But we have that kind of super skilled, super experienced board of directors in this company, and I think that's pretty important. A lot of success has been seen by the people on the board from different backgrounds, but obviously a tech underpinning throughout. And the coming together of this group, Peter Gustafson is our chair, and then we have a number of other members, including the original founder of the company, Richard, as well. It's a solid group of people who have deep experience and expertise in building and growing businesses across a number of different areas, but mostly in the technology space. So as far as the board of directors go, it's solid, good people. And as far as the team that we're building in the business itself, same thing. We're pulling together a great team of high-performing individuals. Everybody who's coming is passionate about the same thing, right? How do you create really unique performance outdoor materials that are recyclable and do have that ability to be circular? So from board to the staffing level, we've pulled a group of people together that are pretty fantastic. We're pretty lucky for a small company.
Yeah, certainly. It's a wildly impressive team. For those of you guys watching, it's well worth spending some time looking through the team, look through the investor presentation, look through backgrounds of everyone. It's a very impressive group of entrepreneurs and business leaders. And at the end of the day, with a small company like this, the world is unpredictable. So the people you have steering the ship is incredibly important, if not the most important thing. So that's excellent. Well, Sage, I really look forward to doing this again. I enjoyed this chat. For those of you guys watching, if you have questions or comments, please leave them below. We love this stuff. We can talk about it all day long. Sage, we're definitely going to bug you to try to get you back here. And I really appreciate your time. So thank you again. And thanks for sharing your knowledge with the audience. This stuff is fascinating. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. And again, those of you watching, this is ALUULA Composites. The stock ticker is AUUA.V. Add it to your watch list. It's well worth it, and we will be following along. So keep your eyes peeled. Sage, thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day.